Hey you guys, I'm Jack Ruston, welcome to Ruston's Boneyard. Now the other day on Instagram I posted a picture of what I described as a giant beef mushroom and egg yolk calzone. Now it's not really a calzone because there's no sort of pizza flavours, no mozzarella, no tomato. Equally, it's sort of like a huge folded soft taco, but not quite the same. There's no real equivalent. I'm going to call it a double-hander. This is a beef, mushroom and egg yolk double-hander, and it's called a double-hander because if you don't hold it in both hands, it's going to fall everywhere. And that's the kind of thing I like. Let me show you how to make it. So I've got my 12-inch large skillet. I've got 300 grams of ground beef. I use for it fat cap, which I grind myself. I like the fat content of that. It's probably about 30%. Use whatever you can get. I've got some beautiful organic mushrooms, chestnut mushrooms, shiitakes, oyster mushrooms. I've got some beautiful pastured eggs, salt, egg white powder, and I've actually got some beef protein powder, which is a very useful addition to this, and I'll show you why, but it is optional. If you can't get it, don't worry. So, first thing, in my skillet, I've got a little tallow. Now, if you've got a lot of fat content in your meat, you might just take a few of the fatty pieces, pop it in the skillet, and just cook them off to create some tallow. You can certainly do that. You don't need to add extra, but I'm just doing that here for simplicity. I'm going to put this on the hob. I'm going to get that tallow nice and hot, and I'm going to put my mushrooms in and let them start cooking away. Now, while my mushrooms are just starting to cook down, I'm going to separate my eggs. I'm going to put the yolks into this small bowl, and I'm going to keep the whites here in my big mixing bowl. So I'm just going to tip them across a reasonably unspiky edge of the shell. Sometimes you get these really shardy bits and sometimes there's a smooth bit. Tip it across the smooth bit, it's less likely to break the yolk. Now if you break a yolk, discard it, because actually we really do want our yolks to be whole for this. And I normally have a pot of egg yolks in my fridge anyway that I can draw on. And these mushrooms have just started to cook down nicely, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pop my ground beef in, and I'm literally just going to take chunks of it, not making meatballs, but I'm sort of keeping it in little chunks, not just breaking it into a very finely ground mixture. Spread that around a bit, just give it a shove with your hand, doesn't matter, get a bit mucky. So, now, salt again onto the beef. I'm going to put this back on the heat. Our 4 egg whites, electric hand whisk, stiff peas. Seem pretty stiff to me. Okay, so pause that for a second. I'm just going to get my skillet back. There we go, it's looking good. I can start to see the fats rendering out, kind of starting to look a little sort of golden around the edges. Now, this is an optional but ninja move. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take some beef protein and I'm just going to gently dust it over this. And what that's going to do is it's going to break down into a sticky kind of collagen-y coating on the mushrooms and the beef. It helps it form a sort of sticky, crusty bit. We don't need masses of it. So look, you can see I've just dusted this over. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to now put that back on the heat again and just let it start to sort of melt in. Now while that's going on, egg white powder, I want for 4 eggs, this is a little quarter cup. I want about half of that, so like an 1/8 of a cup. And I'm guessing it's about 15, 20 grams, something like that. I don't need too much. And I want a good pinch of salt. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly mix that through again. So now, what we can see is that this is kind of melting down into a sort of goldeny kind of crust here. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my egg yolks in my hand, one by one, and I'm just going to lay them in a likely looking place around this mixture. So kind of one in each quarter, if you like. And what we're going to do is we're going to take little small amounts of it, and we're just going to avoiding the egg yolks, which will break if we're not careful. We're just gonna start spreading it into the base. And what we want it to do is to kind of mix into the base. We're looking to meld these things together, filling up any gaps that we see, working to some extent around the egg yolks. If you break one egg yolk, don't panic. The world's not going to end. It's all going to be totally delicious anyway. But it is nice to have them as these kind of isolated, little blocks of yolk. So I've spread this round the base, and what I'm going to do now is just take the rest of it, scoop it all out like this. Let's make it so you can see. Spread it gently over the top. And what we're going to do is just spread it around like this, like we're icing a cake basically. And this goes into a preheated 180 degree centigrade oven for 10 minutes. We are 10 minutes away from the beef mushroom and egg yolk double hander. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to gently separate it around the edges. What we hope is that the egg is going to have melded into the meat and the mushroom, and it's going to incorporate it completely, and it will have done that to some degree. But what we're going to find as we bring it out of here is that there will be some bits left over. So palm on the top and just turn it, and I'm just going to lay it down in here like this, and I'm going to just get any little remaining bits out of my pan, of which there aren't many actually, to be fair. You can see how utterly delicious that looks. We've got this kind of sticky beef and mushroom and egg yolk, and okay, here we go. Fold it over. Now, here's what you do. Left hand in the middle, right hand at the bottom. Squeeze it together all the way around. And here you have it, the giant beef, mushroom and egg yolk double hander. Give it a go, take a picture, stick it on Insta, tag me at Ruston's Boneyard. Keep cooking.